Hello, and welcome to Cosmic Triggers with Sam. Today in the world is the Virgo full moon, and a lunar eclipse, and tomorrow's Mercury in retrograde. And what does all of this mean? I'm not an astrologist. I'm just gonna put this out there. I'm not an astrologist. I just have information. Let's just take a second to arrive, all right? We're about to go on an adventure. We're about to spend time together. So let's arrive. Hey, how are you? Maybe breathe with me. Take a deep breath in. When you get filled with breath, hold it. And exhale, let it all out. Completely empty yourself. And hold. Inhale. And exhale. Let's set an intention of why we're here. Maybe you don't need to, but I am. My intention for being here is to make something beautiful. To find something that might seem dark or negative or painful and find the beauty in it. My intention is to transform and to allow everything that is, allowing everything that is going to happen. And hopefully it happens from a place of love. My intention is for everything to come from a place of love and silliness. We can play. My partner is putting in a ceiling fan at the same time that I want to make a podcast. So that's the theme, Okay, so that's what I want to talk about today. Thank you for being here. Thanks for breathing with me. Today is a full moon in Virgo. It is also a total lunar eclipse. And tomorrow is Mercury. Mercury's going to be in retrograde. So what does all of this mean? It means we have opportunity to see ourselves, to slow down, to trust, and to change. So what I really wanted to talk about, because when it's a full moon, when it's always like these big astrological events, a lot of times I see astrologers being like, it's time to release those toxic people. Those exes are going to reach back out to you. Get rid of those toxic people. Like, release these people, right? Release other people. And this has like never really made sense to me. And what I found was like, today I heard it, right? I heard this narrative and I was like, I don't think that other people are the things that need to be released. Like, because every time I read this, I'm like, oh, do I need to break up with my partner of 3 years who works with me and who I grow with constantly? And yes, we struggle. And yes, we like aren't showing up as our best selves at all times, and we are changing and growing and evolving together. Do I need to leave this person because sometimes like he struggles? This is also a confusing message because it's saying you could imply that it's saying, oh, someone's not perfect, someone's not showing up perfectly, someone's not serving you. Like, leave them. And what does that give us room for? Like, that is not how growth happens. Like, my experience of 3 years being with someone who is dedicated to growing and changing, and me being dedicated to that, is that, like, it's hard. And there are times where I am not perfect, where I'm really struggling, and I am acting from a place of my pain and a place of my past. And not to say it's okay, but something that, like, I've learned in my therapy is, like, something that my therapist has said, and I think this is really true, is like, a lot of times we have to act out what we were taught to see that it's not who we are or who we want to be. Right? Like, it's not enough to just be like, I want to be a good person. It's like, okay, but what is in the way of being who you want to be? What literally patterns and thought processes and literal connections in your brain do you make? What gets fired off and triggered when you are trying to be you? Right? Because, like, that is what happened in childhood, is we were existing. We were trying to be God, right? And then confusion came, and pain, and, like, all of the past trauma of humanity gets, like, right? So now you have it, and you're acting it out. And if we just keep getting rid of each other because we're acting out the things that we don't want to see that are real, if we just keep pushing that away, like, nothing can change. And I'm going to say this again later, we need to be able to hold each other. We need to be able to be in self so much that when you are acting in a way that is undesirable to me, when you're acting in a way that is triggering, that is undesirable, maybe it's unkind, maybe it's whatever, right? When you're acting this way, I can see it, I can hold it, and I don't have to take it personally. And I can actually be a space for you to process that and to go through that and realize, oh my God, it has nothing to do with this person. Oh, I have, then we can grieve, right? Like, then you can have, like, a grieving process. But, like, if I can't hold you, not to say we all have to hold everyone, right? Like, but the people who are triggering are probably the people, like, you know what I'm saying? So when I hear these narratives, it's very confusing. It's like, everyone's going to be triggering. Everyone is going to have a place where they need to grow. So do we just dump everyone? Do we just not have deep connections? Because that's what happens with deep connections. Is we see how much we can hold each other. We also see how much I can hold myself. By learning, by, like, being in relationship, then I can see, like, do I need to rely on this person for everything? And then they can let me go. And they are in the opposite role of, like, oh, I have to hold this person for everything. But then they can learn, like, oh, no, I think I can let this person go. And they'll be okay. But we need to be able to hold each other. And what really needs to be left behind is the person who we tend to be. The person who we tend to show up as, that is not our highest and best self. The person who we were taught to be, that is who needs to be released. The old patterns that we have, the old things that we do that don't align with who we want to be, that is what needs to be released. And it really has nothing to do with anyone else. Even, that's what I'm saying, even if someone's showing up in a, and I don't like this word, toxic way, and even if someone is not showing up as their best self, which, God, let's give them some grace, because do we always show up as our best selves? Even when other people around us are not showing up as their best selves, it doesn't matter, really. We need to show up. And obviously, like, for children, like, this is why I have so much compassion for children, because, like, ultimately the struggle is they kind of don't have choice, right? If the parents are showing up in, so this, I'm not talking about children, I'm talking about us, adults. I hope I'm looking into the camera. I can't see it. It's this tiny, tiny dot. I'm looking at the green dot, which isn't the camera, so forgive me. Anyway, I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. So I'm gonna give you an example of this. And this is why I love astrology, I love dreams, I love being a human, because it's freaking awesome. Okay. Because everything is given to us. It's like right there. We just gotta like pay attention, right? Okay, so I had a dream this morning that there's a street where my parents live. So my parents live on this street, right? On a street perpendicular. It's like the main road where my parents live. I was on this street and I needed to go one direction. I had to go somewhere. And I asked my mom for a ride. This is all in the dream. I asked my mom for a ride. So I needed to go this direction. My mom starts to drive me this direction. And I'm like, Mom, we're going the wrong way. And she's ignoring me. And I'm like, I'm about to cry thinking about this dream. I'm like, Mom, we're going the wrong way. And she's ignoring me. She's like, no, you need to go this way. And I was like, I knew in every fiber of my being I had to go the other way. And for some reason, in this dream, if I were to get out of the car without my mom, if I were to get out of the car without my mom, for some reason, I would have no clothes on all of a sudden. So I'm starting to scream. I'm like, I need to go the other way. And she's like, no. And I'm like, gosh darn it, I don't care if I'm naked. I'm getting out of this car and I'm going the other way. So I jump out of a moving vehicle. I grab a towel, though, that happens to be in the car. I wrap this towel around me and I start running the way I'm supposed to go. And along this way of where I'm supposed to go is a store that my friends work at. One of the women who is my friend is the woman who served me ayahuasca 2 years ago. So I think that's kind of funny. Because I wouldn't necessarily say we're friends in real life. I doubt she even remembers me. But I go to the store, I'm in this towel, and I'm like, can you believe my mom would take me the other way? I needed to go this way. Like, how dare she take me the other way? And like, it was this really strong feeling in me of like, oh, like that is how could she take me the other way? And they were like, oh my God, yeah, that's crazy. Like, you need to go this way. And I was like, I know. And so I end up in the car again with my mom. Kind of like, it's like another test. It feels like a test. Like, are you gonna go the way you're supposed to go? So I get in the car again with my mom. And again, I need to go this way. She starts driving the other way. And I'm like, no, I need to go the other way. So I jump out of the car. There's no towel this time. I'm naked. I'm running down the street. There's cars, people everywhere. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I need to go this way. So I do. And I go that way, nude. I don't care. And when I first woke up, I thought the dream was about my mom. And then as the day progressed, and I sat with this energy of like, because I woke up at like 6 a.m. and I was like, I gotta go to the gym. And I didn't really want to. Like, this old version of me is like, I don't want to. But this new version of me, like the person who I want to be, is like, yeah, 6 o'clock, let's go to the gym, let's get it done. Right? So I wake up, I'm like, what was that dream? I realize the dream is about me. That no matter what, even if the person I'm with is going one direction and I need to go the other one, no matter what the cost, I need to go that way. It doesn't mean I have to disown my mother. It doesn't mean I need to break up with my partner. But it means that I need to be so solid in myself. I have to know and do the things that I need to do, no matter the cost, right? Even if it means I'm alone. I need to go this way. And I think that's a perfect dream that represents like what all of this energy is about. I think the energy that's coming up in this full moon, and yes, like a lot of astrologers are like, okay, it's the Virgo full moon. Like Virgo is a lot of like things need to be perfect and really strict, and if it's not perfect, I can't do it, and it has to be done a certain way. And I feel that is coming up also, of kind of like trusting that things are going to happen the way they need to happen, and it might not be the way we thought they were going to happen, right? Like I think that's true too. But what I'm trying to kind of get across is that in life, I think things more have to do with the internal than the external. So, like in our relationships, like think about how, like, relationships in your life. Maybe it's a partner, maybe it's friends, maybe it's acquaintances, or like patterns that you have in relationship. What are the patterns? And do we usually come to the conclusion of it's the other person? So an example is like someone who gives a lot, or like if you feel like you give and give and give and other people take and take and take, like, and so you get rid of that person. Do you find that you keep finding yourself in that position in other relationships? Whatever the feeling is, maybe it's a feeling of like you're left out or whatever, right? Like think about how you feel when you're in relationship over a period of time. Because in the beginning, when we first meet people, we are pretty in self. We don't have a past yet, and we haven't connected our past to the present. We're very in the present when we first meet people. And then as we develop relationship, what tends to happen is the past comes to the present. So who you were taught to be by your parents, by your relations as a child, through society, we're like given roles. And we tend to create and find people who will help us replicate that role. So like, yeah, when like in my relationship, I'll be like, oh, they don't love me and they don't treat me like this and they treat me like that. And it's like, well, what am I doing to create that? And we're creating that. We're bringing the past to the present because it needs to be transformed. The person that we keep becoming in relationships is the person who wants to be transformed, to become a higher version of ourselves. So when we're triggered by people, when we feel like, oh, I need to get away from this person, it's really, it is honestly the greatest gift. It is the greatest gift to have these people around us who trigger us. Mary Oliver, the poet, wrote a very short poem. It's perfect. She said, Someone I once Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. Because that darkness is really your darkness. And it's the darkness that wants to be transformed. So even when we hear astrologers say, like, this person, you need to release that which isn't serving you, I don't even think the word release is the proper term, because we can't just release it. We have it for a reason. We can't just let it go. Like, it doesn't work like that. It needs to be transformed because it exists on such a deep level. It is a part of us. Does this make sense? I'm washed out. Does this make sense though? Like, we're taking a pause. We're taking a pause. You can't, like, get rid of your DNA, right? Like, you can only change it. You can't just pull something out of your head and put it somewhere else. Like, it is who you are. It is also what keeps us connected to the world, to other humans. Because what wants to be transformed in us is also what wants to be transformed in the world. It is a shared darkness, this darkness that we're giving it to each other. We're reminding each other, like, we all have darkness that needs to be transformed. Can we hold each other's darkness, which is the same darkness at a fundamental level? Like, my pain, we share the same pain. Can we transform it? Can you hold my pain? Can you hold your own pain? Can we look at the dark and together just give it a place to exist, to be seen, and not pushed away and rejected? Can we give it a place to be seen so that it can become something else? So I know you have the question, how do we transform? How do we transform this darkness into light? And you're not gonna like the answer. Or you might, because then you'll have an answer. How do we transform? We do the things we don't want to do. If I crumpled a piece of paper, that's it. That's it. That's the answer. How do we transform? We do the things we don't want to do. We do the things that are the most terrifying. That's it. That's how we transform. And this is incredible because, like the butterfly, when we transform, it only leads to more transformation. Like, think about the butterfly. It's a caterpillar. It does the terrifying thing of the terrifying thing isn't eating the food, right? That's pretty great. The terrifying thing is then when you've grown so much that now you have to build your own cocoon of darkness and you have to go in your own dark. And it's totally unknown who you're going to come out as, right? Or if you're even going to come out at all. What if a storm comes and blows me away and I die? Like, right? Totally unknown going into the cocoon. But you come out a butterfly. So you don't even have to change. I'm adding this. Sorry for the knocking. I told you. Ben is putting in a ceiling fan. He's working hard. Okay, so like, what's so incredible about transformation is you are not even responsible for anyone else's transformation. You don't have to change anyone else. All you have to do is change and transform. Because what happens? The butterfly transforms, or the caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. The only thing that comes from that is that it makes more butterflies. Right? It makes, like, it pollinates, it reproduces, and more caterpillars turn into butterflies. Just from the butterfly transforming. He didn't have to do, or she didn't have to do anything else. She just had to transform, right? And then everything else will transform. So we are the caterpillar coming into the butterfly, becoming the butterfly. So your transformation will transform everything else. You don't have to change anyone. That's it. Just you. How relieving. Right? Isn't that so relieving? But it's so much easier to try and change other people, right? Because then I don't have to change. You do. It's so much harder for me to go in the cocoon of darkness, of my own dark. So much harder. But how easy is it also to just be the thing that needs to change? Like, all the power is in your hands. It's great. And it's hard. That's hard. It's hard. It's so easy to do the things that we've been doing. We're not scared, right? We're not scared of doing them. We're not scared of failing. Well, maybe not failing. We're not scared of being, like, small. We're not scared of doing the things that, like, we've been doing. Like, the things you were taught to do. We're not scared to do that, right? Because it's, like, so ingrained. You're not even thinking of doing that, right? Like, example? Sure. If I'm taught to pause. Let me think about this. We are scared of what we don't know, right? Like, I know not necessarily poverty because I've always had a home. I've never starved. But I am familiar with I grew up where my parents were saying, we don't have money. We might lose the house. I can't afford that. We might not have this week, right? So I'm used to like a scarcity mindset. I'm used to not having enough. I'm used to, oh, we're in debt. I'm used to not doing well. I'm used to struggle. I'm used to feeling scared and not having enough and not having what I want. I'm used to that. So a scary thought for me is being successful. A scary thought for me is having my soap business, like making $1 million. I'm like, that seems really scary. Because I'm like, how is that possible? It's unknown, right? It's like, how is that possible? And what will it take? Who do I have to be for that to be possible? I will have to be someone different than who I am right now. If I'm like, if I'm, out of shape and my body hurts, who do I have to become to lose weight and feel good? I have to become someone who, like, depending on your life, right? Like for me, I have to wake up 6:30, go to the gym right away. It's so hard. Meditate for an hour, but this is hard for me. Because like first world problems, but like, right? Like, but we have to show up, and we have to show up in a way that we're not familiar with showing up. We have to show up as a totally different person than we were taught to show up. Like if you grew up eating crap and eating whatever you want and eating a lot of processed food and not moving and just being a couch potato, and like if that's the life that you're accustomed to living, right? Like going to the gym, cooking your food, eating healthy, meditating, right? Like that is the thing we don't want to do. But it's the thing you need to do to become who you need to be. Coffee break. So how do we transform? By doing the things we don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's hard. All of these things take time, they take patience, they take grace, they take discernment, they take discipline. This all requires, again, us to be something that in general we were not taught. So we have to learn it and unlearn what we learned that doesn't serve us. Right? So it is a process. And I don't think it helps to punish each other, I don't know, like to not have some level of understanding. And understanding doesn't mean like, hey, you're like, it doesn't mean we're not accountable. It just means that we can sympathize with the dark, because your dark also exists in me. And if I'm leaving you and abandoning you and saying, get away, you are toxic and you are whatever, like, I probably don't even want to see that part in me then. Because I'm afraid somebody's going to push me away and say, oh, you're not perfect? Get away. So all of this requires seeing where we come from, looking at our old stories, looking at the past, asking uncomfortable questions, probably, to ourselves and like maybe family, and, just talking about stuff. Talking about stuff. Um, and we don't have to rush. This is gonna, that's why there's a lifetime. And there's only so much we can do in a lifetime. And the good news is you don't have to do it all. Just your part. You know? So really we just gotta look at our behavior. And the best way to do that is by having a mirror. By being in relationship. Like when we're alone, we can like get away with not seeing, right? But once we're in relationship, it's like you're clear as day. So, find people who are going to stick around, and stick around for people. Stick around for you, really. Be there for you. Yesterday, I was like struggling because I was like, that old story came up of like, I wanted to go to the gym and something was coming up for my partner and he wanted to talk about it, and I wasn't listening to myself. And I was getting really frustrated and really angry, and I was like, oh, it's his fault. It's his fault. It's his fault. Oh, it's not my fault. Oh, it's his fault. And then my mom texted me out of nowhere, and she sent me this picture of me when I was a little girl. I'm looking at it right now. And it was super emotional. I looked at me, and I was like, I gotta show up for you. I have to show up for you. I am the only person who can give you what you need. I have to show up. And, that's so cool that I get to. I want to reiterate that it's as hard as it is, and that's why we need each other, because it is hard. Because it is so hard to hold all of this alone. It is so hard to hold generations of trauma and beauty alone. It's meant to not be shared in the sense of let me re-traumatize people, although we're going to, right? Like it's just going to happen. But we can transform it. It will get better. It can get better. Something my teacher who taught CBC, Van, said, and I really love this. He said, as long as what you do next is better than what you did, it's okay. Like as long as you do better next time. Right? And that's it. It's like we're just doing a little bit better. And a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And there's no other way to do it. And we will make mistakes because we've never been here before. And it will be scary because it's unknown. And so what are the things that we can do for ourselves that maybe are scary, but we can do them? We can really try and do them. Going to the gym when you're out of shape and whatever is scary. But like, can we do it? Can we give ourselves that period of uncomfortableness to become a butterfly? Can we go in our dark cocoon? Can I sit alone for 20 minutes every morning and be alone with me and breathe? Can I do that so that I can have a little bit more clarity? Can I try and be myself and use the tools that help me even though people around me aren't? Like, and then so that like I can be okay where I am, you know? I think that's it. I think that's all I got. You know? Whatever practices you're avoiding, do them. If you want advice, I don't like giving advice because don't hold me accountable. But this is just coming from me. Do the workouts you're not doing. Do the practices you're not doing. Do them. And you don't have to do them perfect. And spend more time looking at, not me, you. Because you're beautiful. That's why you should look at you. That's why I am looking at me in this mirror and on this screen. Because I'm like, oh, who is she? Who is she becoming? I'm so excited. I'm scared. But we're going to be okay. That's it. All right. I love you. Thank you. Bye.